Good morning, you all. Let's continue with the rise of the Chinese economy. And in my previous lecture, I had already informed you, we had already talked about, like initially China had decided to go more for the communistic economic approach, and as a result of that, no doubt they were able to provide the basic facilities to their public, but the acceleration or the speed of the growth of Chinese economy was not so satisfactory. That is the reason in 1970s the Chinese leadership had to take some had to go for certain major changes. They had to take certain major policy decisions which changed the scenarios and which gave such a big acceleration, such a big speed to the growth of Chinese economy that it is expected that till 2040 China will be the biggest economy in the world. So this is what we will be discussing in my today's lecture. In 1972, China decided to go for having a relationship or having, I must say, that more inclination towards United States. It was a country in 1950s at the time, like we know that till 90s. After the Second World War till 90s, it was the time of Cold War. China was a country which had decided to keep a distance from the capitalistic ideology of the West, to keep a distance from the ideology of America. But in 1972, they decided to normalize their relationship with America, keeping a little bit distance from the USSR. They decided to have a little bit inclination towards the USA. And having an inclination towards the USA was welcoming capitalism in the country, welcoming foreign investment in the country, and this is what China wanted to do at the time. They decided to go in 1978. China announced the open door policy. And what was that open door policy? It was like they decided open door policy and economic reforms in China. I repeat the date, it is 1978. This policy was to generate higher productivity by investment of capital and technology from abroad. China was a country initially which had decided to keep a distance from all kinds of foreign investment. China was a country which had decided to keep to develop an economy which will be totally controlled by the state. The production will be done in the country. Whatever will be required by the population, it will be done in the country only and only for the consumption of their own population. That was their decision initially. But they could not succeed in whatever results they were expecting to have. And as a result, in 1978, they announced certain economic reforms. They decided to go for open door policy. As the name applies, as the name explains to us, it was a policy which was to welcome all kinds of foreign investments on the land of China. China followed its own path in introducing a market economy. The Chinese did not go for shock therapy. Here, I will like to clarify the fact that when Chinese decided to go for capitalistic approach for economic growth, there is a difference. Of course, after the disintegration of the USSR, the newly, I must say that independent country, the number of countries, especially Russia, when they came on the world map, they decided for shock therapy. And why is it called shock therapy? Because it was a very quick transition from communism to capitalism. But when we talk about China did it gradually. China's policy was such a wise one that it helped them a lot in the growth of their economy, and not at all the side effects of shock therapy they had to face, they had to bear. Initially, what they decided to loosen the trade barriers, and they decided to eliminate the trade barriers so that more and more foreign companies would come to their country for investment, and special economic zones were established in their country to welcome more and more foreign investment. And other than that, the new economic policies helped the Chinese economy to break from stagnation. How? Initially, they decided to capitalize their only agriculture. Their agriculture sector was capitalized, and later on, whatever capital they earned from the capitalization of their agriculture sector. They invested it in their industrial growth, which helped them a lot, and their capitalization, the process of capitalization was also very gradual. The Chinese economy, including both industry and agriculture, grew at a very fast rate, and as a result of that, their personal savings started growing, their GDP started growing, and it gave a very big speed to their Chinese economy. And as a result, China has become the most important designation for foreign direct investment. Whatever steps they took in 1978, whatever policies, special investment zones were made for the welcome of foreign companies, as a result, like foreign companies became so comfortable on Chinese land that China has become the biggest, China has become the most interesting destination for foreign investment. It has large foreign exchange reserves that now allow it to make big investment in other countries, and as a result of that, China has earned so much. China is having such a huge accumulation of foreign exchange, foreign currency, that they are able to invest in all big countries. And even in India, they have invested a lot. We know it well. They produce with so much speed, and they produce everything, and they sell everything. India is a very big market. India, like, you know, it's a very big consumption market of Chinese products. We cannot deny the fact. And while the Chinese economy has improved dramatically, not everyone in China has received the benefits of the reforms. But still there is a problem. When we talk about Chinese growth, when we talk about Chinese economy, when we talk about Chinese power, I will like to clarify the fact that China is not at all only Shanghai or Beijing. Still they have problems. China is the most populated country in the world. And there is a great disparity, there is a great gap between the rich and the poor. Everybody is not able to get everything from the acceleration, from the growth of Chinese economy. There is a huge problem of environmental degradation. There is a huge problem of poverty. There is a huge problem of poor medical facilities, of course. And there is a huge problem of corruption also. And all these are the problems which are the problems of any country which is developing very fast pace, especially if the country is located in China. Like, say if the country is located in Asia, because when we compare it with India, of course in India we are growing with very fast pace. We are trying at our level best with very honest efforts also, and we are also having the same kind of problems. And the biggest hurdle in our growth, as well as of China, as well as our growing population, we know it very well. But still, when we talk about China's growing power in Asia, other than economy, of course, I told you in my previous lecture also, China's a very important human resource, natural resources, and of course it's a very crucial and important location in Asia. All these are the things, all these are the factors which make China a very important, powerful country on international platform. Initially, things were not taken so positively, but like, you know, China has been successful in resolving its issues with Japan, US, ASEAN, and of course we are hoping that its issues will be resolved with Taiwan also. And there were fears of China's rise have also been mitigated. There were number of negative fears related to the speed of Chinese economy, that they will be taking over everything and all. But the way China has helped in the growth of ASEAN, it is mitigated. China has invested a lot in South America, in Latin America also. China has helped these African countries also in their growth, in their upliftment also. And all these are the reasons, all these are the factors, again I am repeating, which make China a very important country on international platform. And especially the growth of Chinese economy has played a very important role in increasing Chinese power. Thank you.